Meanwhile, a controversial proposal will be taken up in a House committee later today, one that would restrict how and where those migrants that were bused from the southern border can be housed while awaiting appointments with immigration judges. Tom Dempsey is live in Washington this morning with more on this proposal. Tom, what exactly does this entail?
Hey, good morning, Mark. Yeah, later today, the migrant crisis will be front and center here on Capitol Hill. And to answer your question, lawmakers will be discussing whether or not to ban federal money from being used to pay for housing services for migrants on federal land. A House committee will be zeroing in on that legislation later today, and it would not only ban federal money from being used to pay for housing services for migrants on federal land, it would also revoke a lease in New York City for the migrant encampment at Floyd Bennett Field in Brooklyn, which currently houses around 2,000 migrants. This all comes as migrants continue to be bussed up to cities from the border. New York City has seen almost 150,000 migrants come through its intake system since spring of last year, while places like Chicago and Denver have each seen over 25,000 migrants arrive. In Chicago, the situation has led to some migrants living on sidewalks and at O'Hare Airport. The mayor wants to build winterized base camps now. And in New York City, Mayor Eric Adams has put out calls for help to President Joe Biden, and he now says the crisis could cost the city, get this, around $12 billion.
This is probably one of the most painful exercises I've gone through. It's going to be extremely painful for New Yorkers, and that is why we continue to say we need help.
Now, in response to the measure being talked about on Capitol Hill today, President Joe Biden's team has come out strongly against it, saying, quote, it would significantly restrict the ability of the Department of the Interior and the Department of Agriculture to make decisions regarding the appropriate uses of their lands and resources, even in emergency or other situations. Republican Representative, though, Nicole Malliotakis sponsors this measure, and she posted on social media about the pushback from President Biden, writing, quote, not only has the President of the United States created the migrant crisis, his administration, along with Governor Kathy Hochul and the New York City mayor, are allowing it to continue at taxpayers' expense. The migrant crisis will also be a big talker on the Senate side as well here on Capitol Hill, as senators discuss whether or not to provide billions of dollars for border operations and tying that in for aid with Israel, Ukraine, and Taiwan. Guys.
Thank you for watching.